Attention higher leaders, it's time to shake up your marketing and enrollment strategy. Join us at Insights EDU February 17th to the 19th, 2026 in Fort Lauderdale, Florida for a beachfront experience and the best higher education marketing and enrollment management conference. Early bird pricing ends December 15th, 2025. Register now at insightsedu.com. The future unbound is at Insights EDU 2026. EdUp Experience has brought you powerful conversations with more than 400 college presidents and higher ed leaders, over 1,000 episodes and counting. Now, we're inviting you to join us in shaping the future of higher ed podcasting. For just $5.99 a month, you lock in that rate for life, but only if you sign up before December 31st, 2025. As a supporter, you'll get ad-free early access to episodes. Prices go up after December 31st, but your rate never will. Visit edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com. Click support the show and join our community today.
Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. And I got to tell you guys, my guest today, I'm not going to introduce her right away. I'm going to sit here and just tell a quick story about her. But we were talking before we started recording. We were just talking. And I think my opening of, hey, you're going to be on the podcast comes off so podcasty that sometimes the guests think we're just jumping right into recording. I'm like, no, I got to do my whole professional shtick first and set everything up and get the applause ready. But I've been doing this, as you all know, 1,100 or so times over the last 5.5 years. And as I often joke with my colleagues across higher education, I record every single day, Monday through Friday. Every single day, and I've been doing that for 4.5 years when we went to daily. So this is a daily occurrence. My brain is full of information. That's why I write so much and have so many outlets through EdUp. Otherwise, my brain would literally explode. I talk to too many amazing people. I got to share what they have to say. And we have a very unique guest today for a number of reasons. Number one, because this persona we don't have on too often on EdUp, although a little bit more often lately, as higher education contends with some very big problems, but big opportunity within those problems. And not often do we have on this persona who's going to be in the middle of something that I'm going to tell you about, even though I've just said nothing. Let me bring her in so we can get to it. Ladies and gentlemen, here she is. She's Paula Cunningham. She is chair of the board at Davenport University. How are you, Paula?
I'm great, Joe. Thank you. And thank you for that applause.
Oh, well, you know, the crowd, I just had to shut them out of the room right now. My kids are going crazy. They just clap for everybody. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm kidding, not kidding about the kids part. I did have to shove them out of the room. But thank you for being here, Paula. First of all, it's, you know, the role of a board chair is just an important one. And, you know, not often we have somebody who wants to come on and talk and sort of give us some insights. And first, I'm going to ask you to level set for the audience and tell us about Davenport University and your role as board chair, why you ended up there.
Thank you so much. And thank you for the opportunity to highlight and elevate the good work that's going on at Davenport University. I appreciate that. And thank you for what you've been doing for the last 5 years in terms of just sharing information throughout the country about what's going on throughout the country. Davenport University is a private university that's located in Grand Rapids, Michigan, but we have campuses all over the state of Michigan, different locations throughout Michigan, including one in Detroit, one in Grand Rapids, different places in Michigan. They are what I would consider, they are not your typical higher education institution. They are not. I have, and I don't know if you know this, Joe, but I've been president of a 30,000 student community college.
I did know that. I stalked your background.
And I worked at Michigan State, other places, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful institutions. Davenport's not like those institutions. It is uniquely different in that it can turn a curriculum around for a private sector, someone, whether it's military, government, whether it's an insurance company, hospital, they can customize a curriculum, even have it certified and turn that curriculum around in record time, 60 days, they can, and have it ready to go. Davenport monitors has metrics on every single piece of work that they do. And so I'll go on and on, you'll hear more later, but that's what makes us so unique. And I'll share some more later. But you asked me about Davenport and why, a little bit about Davenport. The president's been there for 17 years. They have a phenomenal leadership team, the phenomenal executive team and deans, faculty, staff. They care about every single student. They have more first-generation students than most universities. Their retention rate is higher than most universities. They've got special programs that speaks to the changing demographics, Latino, Casa Latino, with Hispanic Latino members. They are just uniquely, they really do get to where the world is going, but they're ahead of the world. Other institutions take forever to turn things around, and Davenport can start a program, end a program based on community need, based on industry need, not community, but industry need, based on where the jobs are, based on what is needed in the world. And I'm so excited about its future, excited about the vision for 2030, excited about our AI, artificial intelligence that we're looking at. They are one of the few institutions during COVID that was able to keep going, never missed a day, because they already had online programs. They already had people understanding how to use online, teachers, faculty, how to use online and how to make certain that students are successful there. They look at the metrics for first generation, look at the students, they look at metrics for different programs, the program review in ways that other universities don't. I could go on and on, but I'll pause here just for a moment because I know you have other questions, but they are just so uniquely different. That's why Paula Cunningham, who had been in education, said I wasn't going to go back to education, not interested in being education, said yes when the board came and asked me to be a part of Davenport University's board of directors, because they are innovative, they are transparent, and they are absolutely number one quality and caring about students. They've even won the Malcolm Baldrige Quality Award for the state of Michigan, the only university in the state to ever have won the Malcolm Baldrige Quality Award. That speaks volumes.
Amazing.
Yes,
I gotta tell you, I love it. And one of the reasons why we wanted you to come here, not besides the fact that I knew from the time I've interviewed your president, and so I always do a little bit of research here and there, although most of it's unplanned. It just sort of spills out of my mouth. That you are a president of a large institution, and you, as a president, know that role, and your president is retiring.
Yeah.
And the first thing that happens right now, especially right now in higher ed, because we see so many headwinds, somebody just goes, that president's retiring. I don't know what happened, but something definitely happened there. And so the board got him out of there. What's the real story?
The real story is that Rick wanted to retire. That's
Shout
the real
out to Rick,
story.
by the way, who's been on the podcast, Dr. Rick Pappas.
Yes. I won't even say he wanted to retire. He kind of struggled with it, quite frankly, but he let the board know that he'd give us a year's notice prior to, his retirement. Everybody's getting older. That's the good news. Rick has been a college president for like 34 years.
Yeah.
This wasn't his first rodeo. He's had 4 other institutions. He's been a college president. And there are other things in life. And, kudos to him for realizing that, it might be time for him to experience some of those other things in life. He's an intense person. He's been totally all in when it comes to Davenport, morning, noon, or night. And I think we've got a beautiful, beautiful family, grandchildren, having grandchildren almost one a year now. And I think he kind of saw the balance that life outside of Davenport, that it really does look pretty good. And so I would love for him to stay. The board would love for him to stay. He has some of the highest evaluations that you'll ever find. When the board evaluates him, he does an incredible job. Leadership, the quality, the progress, student performance, all of that. He's phenomenal. So we don't want to do this, but we have to do this because, he has choices in life.
So it's a good story. And we appreciate that here, because there are a lot of stories out there, and people make up their own results of those stories. Somebody like Rick being in higher ed for all those years, having a major success and deciding, I'm going to actually retire and enjoy my family is a good story. But it does leave you and the board with one heck of a pair of shoes to fill. And, we want to get inside your head a little bit, roll around in there, Paula, and find out. I got so many questions. Where do you start? I mean, the board just get in the room and go, oh crap, we got to deal with this problem right now. What does that look like for you to start out? And as you're thinking about this, at least you have some time. You have to think about the state of the institution, what the innovation's been like. Is it a point in time type of president? Are you looking for somebody for the next 20 years? Like, so many questions. I don't even know where to start, but you take that any way you want.
Thank you for that. First of all, if you're in my head, there's not a lot of room to roll around. I've got a lot of stuff in my head. So
I bet you do.
You might peek in and peek out, but there's not going to be a lot of room to roll around. This is the most important decision this board or any board ever makes about an institution is hiring the president or the CEO and the president of the institution. We're not taking this lightly at all. We've had the entire board engaged in what they'd like to see in the next president of the university. We have a vision that's Vision 2030. That vision is not Rick's vision. It is our collective vision. All of Davenport faculty, staff, administrators, executive. We've had the community involved with that vision, students involved with that vision. So that will be the roadmap for this next president. It doesn't mean that the vision can't change or be, life changes. 5 years was a long time, but it does mean that that's the roadmap for right now. And if the vision changes, then it changes, but there'll be that same kind of input into what those changes are. People come and they enhance things and they add new insights. So we get into a room and the board, which is a phenomenal board. I just love this board, every single person on the board. And I don't often say that about boards. But anyway, their board decided that they wanted to do a nationwide external search. That doesn't mean that we don't have qualified folks inside the institution. We probably could have a couple of folks we could just roll right into that position. But we felt as though Davenport, because of its stature in the community, because of the outstanding work that's going on, that we really needed to widen the net and get find out who's out there and get the best talent possible. You don't know if you don't, reach out and ask other people if they're interested. We will before we even interview the first candidate, we will get input. The board will get input from their leadership team, from the faculty, the staff, the community, the donors, alumni, students. What do you want to see in the next president? What qualities and traits and characteristics are important to you and the next president? And we will look at that information. We will have a search firm who will help us write the job description based on what we hear. And then, that process starts. We'll narrow the field down as we go through, get the applicants in, we'll narrow the field down and interview whatever that number is, whether it's 3, 4, 5, whatever that number might be. And then the final candidate or final 2 candidates, just depending, will have interviews with other people across the campus. What are we looking for? Well, I don't want to speak prematurely because we haven't had those listening sessions yet, but I can tell you that the board is very, very proud of the work that's been accomplished. We're not looking for someone to come in and be a disruptor, to change things completely. The course we're on is a good course. Sometimes you hire someone and it's time for a change and you just want a whole different direction. Not. Doesn't mean, again, that we're not open to some changes or people are making things better, but there's nothing wrong at Davenport. There's nothing that needs to be fixed at Davenport. We just need to continue to look to the future and make certain that the support services for students are in place, the kind of what I call TLC, tender loving care, and also high tech and high touch, both are in place. We can all talk about the technology and we know how important that is. But Davenport has the high touch as well, calling students, finding out what's going on. Universities don't do that anymore. If you don't show up, you don't show up. If you're failing, you're failing. But the peer-to-peer mentoring that they have, we want someone who has a heart for this work, a heart for the students, a heart for the community, and who's a visionary. Who can see again where the world is going and see what it's going to take to get us there, and who can work with the private sector and also with government to create programs. And it's hard now to find someone who can customize a program just for your insurance company, just for your broadcast media company if you needed training, or just for healthcare. And Davenport does that, and they measure the success of those programs. They evaluate those programs, and they're getting rave reviews. So it's a big job. It's a huge job.
Yeah, that by the way, that speed of responsive and flexible curriculum is so important, especially as we look at workforce outcomes, workforce Pell even. I mean, there's just so much coming. And it's funny, so it's not funny, but I hear you talking about the type of person that Davenport's not broken.
Right.
And there's a colleague of mine who's writing a book called Builder, Fixer, Optimizer. Like these three personas that we have, we're all one of those three things. We like to build, we like to fix. I know a lot of fixers. I worked in higher ed a long time. I have colleagues where their job they take is one to turn something around.
Right.
Did I cut out in the middle of my sentence?
Yes, you did. Yes,
I think I must have cut it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I cut out in the middle of my sentence. It happens sometimes with this internet thing. But these people who, they go in to fix something. That's what they do. That's the job they take. You're looking for more of a builder, an optimizer, somebody that's taking something that it's already rolling forward. Yes, innovate upon it, but don't come in going, you know what? We've got to reimagine everything Davenport's done up to this point, because there are some institutions that are in that place. I hear you saying Davenport is one, but how do you take the great work that's been done and move it forward and innovate on top of it while keeping that mission? Because the board's not changing their mission. You're not turning your mission around or going in a different direction, right?
If you think you can coast into 2026, think again. Insights EDU is coming February 17th to the 19th, 2026, and it's taking over Fort Lauderdale for a beachfront experience. It's the event that will flip your marketing and enrollment strategy on its head. 3 days, over 65 expert speakers, and over 40 sessions. Zero fluff. Just powerhouse strategies from the most anticipated platforms like Google, Reddit, Meta, MIQ Digital, and the most forward-thinking schools in the nation. You'll get the real wins, the board ideas, and the hands-on tactics to grow programs, drive engagement, and create the student experience today's modern learner demands. The question is, are you ready to lead, or will you get left behind? Mark your calendar, bring your team, and secure your spot at insightsedu.com. That's insightsedu.com. Early bird pricing ends December 15, 2025. See you in Fort Lauderdale. Support the EdUp experience for just $5.99 a month and lock in that rate for life. You'll get ad-free early access to episodes. But hurry, price goes up after December 31st, 2025. Visit edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com and click support the show.
That is correct. And, and enrollment and growth is really important. You want to make certain that that's how you pay your bills, right? Through enrollment. Davenport's had, I think it's like 10 semesters of straight enrollment increases.
That's incredible.
So we want, absolutely. I mean, you think about what we've gone through in terms of dollars lost through Michigan Tuition Grant and some other grants that, no longer are available for students, and then COVID. That is absolutely incredible. And one of the things that we look at as well is whether or not employers are happy with our graduates. And if they're not happy with our graduates, Davenport has a guarantee that in certain curriculums, you can send that individual back and we'll train them. Free of charge. Free of charge. Yeah, they nailed it on that. So where do you get that kind of guarantee? If I'm a CPA and I'm hiring one of Davenport's graduates and that graduate's not working the way that I want them to work, or they don't have the training that I think they need, that person can go back if they're not finding a job or doing a job and get additional training. That's the confidence level in our curriculum and the quality of the work that we do that we know is there. So if they can't find a job or they're not working to the capacity. So what are we looking for in terms of the next president, and how does that work? How do you find that builder that you're talking about, Joe? That's exactly what it is. It's a builder. It's a builder and a bridge maker. There are some areas that we need to have crossover to, and so they need to understand that we don't want to be stagnant. We don't want to say, okay, this is the vision and that's it. Okay, but bring your new ideas, bring the creativity. Every year we're going to take a look at that plan. Every May we're going to get together as a board. We're going to get together and say, okay, what needs to be changed? But that's only after we've spoken to the community, to our faculty, our staff. And that's what we're looking for, someone who is open to creating and to continuing to build on the foundation that's been established, a successful foundation that's been established. We're looking for someone who understands what it takes, because there's not an endless pot of money. So, where's the stresses and the strains, the push and the pull, and what are the priorities, and bringing those to the board, sharing those, and having the data and the research and the way Rick always did. He didn't just bring ideas. He brought data. He brings data. I act like he's gone already. I want to talk about past tense. He's still here for a year. He brings data to us. He brings community research data and tells us what's going on. And so that's what we're looking for. Someone who's just excited about the future in spite of all the challenges that exist.
There is no more important relationship than a president and their board chair. Mm-hmm. And you're an interesting one because you've been a president. Mm-hmm. Excuse me, I'm coughing. But you know the job. So I've actually seen some presidents like dazzle with different, personally seen it dazzle with different metrics, and the board go, oh yeah. And it's like, I'm sitting here going, wow, if they just knew the next question to ask, you would have to reframe everything that you showed. So you present a interesting board chair because, there are some.
I know the next question, right?
Yeah, like, I don't want to have a board chair who's who knows exactly what to ask. I mean, I'm going to be held to a way, I can't do the dazzling that I'm used to. I need to bring like hard data 24/7. And then on the other flip side of that, boy, oh boy, would it be nice to have a board chair that understands this industry. Boy, oh boy, would it be great to have a board chair that understands this pushback from faculty when I'm trying to do something. Boy, oh boy, would it be great to have a board chair that understands that serving students isn't something you just do. You have to have resources and people and all these things to do it. That is I'm building. See this build up for this question. Have you thought about how this position and you will interact because of your experience?
That's an interesting question. No, I haven't thought that far yet. I have never, ever been a micromanager. If you hire right, then you don't have to look over someone's shoulder all the time. I believe in policy. I used to train in policy governance, which the board needs to understand its role and responsibilities and not get into the day-to-day micromanaging of stuff. And Rick, because of his competence, and he's been, again, president of college 4 times, there's no better expert in the room than Rick Pappas. So whatever experience that I have is my experience that I've had, and I will, I'll ask him a question or something, but it's never, I don't believe in because I've lived through it, the micromanaging, so are we going to paint that football stadium, red or white or whatever, or we're going to have, no, that's not our role. Our role is to make certain that we want to hire and evaluate the president, look at budget fiduciary responsibilities, and make certain that the academic programming is top notch and that it's meeting the needs of business and industry and the community, and that students are getting the education that they've paid for and that they deserve at Davenport. I understand that role. I understand our board. So I'm probably one, because I don't want the board to get in there who's always saying, I think we're digging too deep here, folks. Let's stay up here. But I understand your question. It could be it could be a blessing or a curse, right? To have someone who has so much knowledge. I will tell you, however, though, that when Rick brings data to the board, or research or information or idea to the board, his entire executive vice presidents are in the room as well. Yeah. And we can talk with them, we're chatting with them, and they're sharing information. This board is a very high level, high functioning board. CEO, I think everyone there is a CEO or a partner in a law firm or of some organization. They don't want to get into the nitty gritty stuff. That's not why they're sitting around that table. They don't want, that's not who they are, which is why I love working with this board so much. They understand that their role is to make certain that hiring, evaluating the president, the fiduciary responsibilities, and student success and academic success. That's primarily our role, and they have not been one of the boards no one of the boards have really been a micromanager that we've had to have them pull back and they do ask the next question, but the next question is relevant. The next question is, how did you get here? Okay, so you have student satisfaction at 80%. Did you talk to all the students, or did you just talk to full-time students? Did you talk to part-time students? We ask those kinds of questions so everyone understands, but the transparency is phenomenal. So never an issue.
Let me ask just your feelings on this, and knowing that you haven't done the big community feedback loop and define the search and all that. When you look at the needs of Davenport, do you think there? Let me frame it right. But there's some presidential search prospecti. Is it prospecti or prospectuses? I'm not sure.
It's whatever you say.
Okay, I don't know what that is, so I'm just going to call it prospecti. That will say we need a fundraising president. We want our president to be the fundraising president. There's others that say we want the student services type president. This is just asking you this question, top of mind. Do you go, fundraising is the thing? That's what we need. Is it enrollment knowledge? Is it student service? Is it academic program crafting? Is there one thing that supersedes another?
That's a great question, and it shows your knowledge of education as well. I remember even when I was president, there was always this push and pull regarding too much time in the community, not enough time in the community, too much time internally, not enough time internally. Yep. And there's never the right balance for some people. No matter what you do, it's never the right balance. But to answer your question more specifically, we need a president who can do all of it.
Yep.
And in this day and time, fundraising is extremely important. That we had when we lost the Michigan tuition grant, it was as a result of our donors that we had some money to help supplement students so they could still go to college and finish their degree, who were depending on a grant that was just pulled, unexpectedly without any notice whatsoever. So if you if that person hadn't been doing the fundraising and didn't have the donors, those students would have been not able to return to the institution. And yet you need the faculty and staff who are struggling because, they are looking at whether it was during COVID and having the transition there, or whether it's just like what's going on or what's happening, you need the face there. So I don't think you can do an either or, and I'm not interested in an either or. This person, this individual, he or she will really need to know how to balance all of those different levels and to adjust accordingly. And I think the transparency is so important, Joe, because if you tell faculty and staff, we're going to spend a lot of time trying to talk to donors, and we're going to try to make as much money in here as possible. This is a great program you have over here at Casa Latina, and I'm going to be out there selling it and making certain that we get the kind of funding that we need, and we're going to be writing grants and talking to people. If you tell them that, then they understand that, they understand what you're doing, what's going on. So transparency is really important, and we've had that. I mean, we always go to have meetings, listening sessions with students, faculty, staff, everyone, so they know what's happening. And I think that should definitely continue. Otherwise, you leave people to their own, like you were saying, their own rumors and devices. Like, they're never here. They're never here. Are they still? What are they doing? Are they in Florida? What's going on? Without knowing what's happening. So communication, transparency is critical.
I think you're right, especially in an age where it's not hard to find somebody. If you really look hard enough, there's in the background of a picture somebody took on the campus or whatever. I mean, you could skip trace anybody these days, but you make a good point. If you say something, especially at that level and you're a C-level president, you better do it. You better do it, and you better communicate that you're doing it and the results of it, because people will be curious of your involvement. One of my mentors used to say sometimes it's just about being there so people see that you're there.
Right.
It doesn't even matter what you've done. It's just for them to see that you're a part of something.
Right.
If you disappear, that's where the questions come. So I really like what you said, and I think it's so true. And as you move forward with the search, we obviously wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
We want to leave the mic open to you here at the end to say anything out there to the community of people who might be interested in this position. This might become a job advertisement for Davenport University by the time we're done. But is there anything else you want to say to the audience about Davenport, the work that you're doing, the work that the president has done and will continue to do? Take it in any direction you like.
I appreciate that. Yeah, and I say that this is such a big job to fill. I know everyone thinks that vacancies are the big job to fill and, the big shoes to follow and to step into. But first of all, I'd like to say that our board of directors is phenomenal. And so that should not, sometimes you think, what about the board? Is the board fighting with each other? It's a phenomenal board. And I say that because sitting on a hospital board, I sit on chamber board, I've sat on other boards.
Comparisons?
Yes, and this is an incredible board. And Davenport it has this one a place in my heart when I didn't even want to get back into education after being in it for a quarter of a century. So anyone, we're not saying that the next president has to be a tenured president who's been around like, as long as Rick has and has had 3 or 4 different presidencies before. We're not saying that. We're not saying that this president absolutely has to have a PhD required, certainly preferred, but required. We're not saying that. We're not saying that this president has to have been in education forever. It could be someone from a different sector who has, certain kinds of education background and experience. So if you know someone, please have them, once we get the job description, have them look at it and apply. The larger the pool, the better. What they're going to find when they walk in, the successful candidate, when they walk into Davenport, they're going to find a warm, welcoming environment. They're going to find a place that students are reaching their goals. They're reaching, and we're monitoring and have metrics on that. They're going to find that we are very focused on fundraising. We're very focused on making certain students have the resources that they need, whether they are multilingual students like the Casa Latina, whether they are students, military students or whatever, that they have the kind of resources that they need. And we're going to be focused on the future as well. Education, the whole world is changing. We all know that, right? It's changing fast. So let's not wait until it changes and then say, oh my, what do we do? Let's figure out where the world is going and get there before the rest of the world gets there. That's Davenport. We get there before the rest of the world does to make certain that our success can and will continue. And so I would encourage anyone who might be interested and have the kind of skills that we're talking about and the qualities that we're talking about, encourage them to apply. You'll be happy you did if you're successful.
Well, I can't think of a better way to end my day than talking with you, Paula. It has been a pleasure, not only because of the work that you're doing at Davenport, but because of your experience and tenure in higher education. It's always good to talk with somebody that has done the work, like, the burn of serving students and the happiness that it brings, but how hard it can be and how important this choice is, because so many lives are riding upon it, literally. Educating our youth and, frankly, our modern learners, our adults, our people of all ages. So I don't envy you the choice, but I am so happy that you're the one that is leading the choice among a group of people who are going to make it.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Joe. And thank you for, again, highlighting and elevating this work. It's important work, and it's all about the students. And so that's Davenport University, all about students and our wonderful faculty and staff. So thank you for highlighting the work that educators are doing throughout the country and for what you do as well, Joe.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, there she is. She's the one and only Paula Cunningham. She is the board chair at Davenport University, and you've just EdUp'd.
Mark your calendars now for February 17th to the 19th, 2026. Because if you miss this, you'll be playing catch up all year. This is the future unbound and the most important higher ed marketing and enrollment management conference of 2026. Insights EDU is taking over Fort Lauderdale, where Google, Meta, Reddit, MIQ Digital, and top institutions nationwide will pull back the curtain on what's next. Are you ready to adapt or be left behind? Insights EDU 2026 is where leaders become game changers. Register now at insightsedu.com. That's insightsedu.com. Early bird pricing ends December 15th, 2025. The EdUp experience has delivered over 1,000 episodes with higher ed leaders from around the world. Now you can support the show for just $5.99 a month and lock in that rate for life when you join before December 31st, 2025. You'll enjoy ad-free early access to episodes. Go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com. Click support the show and secure your lifetime rate today.